Emily.
Hi.
It's Emily Tung. So she's our first episode of this officially with someone talking back and forth. I've only done an introduction so far, so thank you for hopping on this, for
Not
episode
at
one.
all. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So Emily is a fellow stunt woman, a colleague of mine, and I wanted to bring her on because recently Emily and I started talking a little bit about the strike that's been going on and content creation. And pretty much just the whole topic of figuring out what to do in this limbo period that we're in, but also finding the inspiration and the drive to even do it. Because right now, with what we're facing with this industry, it's really hard to find the motivation to keep going. And I wanted to get a bit on Emily's thoughts on that, and then hear a bit about what you've been up to for your day-to-day life, like, what's going on in the real life world while we're facing everything that we're up against. Because we're also, not only are we dealing with, our industry, but like the world around us right now is kind of erupting.
Yeah. So when the strike started, I think I wasn't really in acceptance right away. Like when we got the authorization to vote, my first thought was, it's not going to get there. There's no way they know we're going to go on strike and still give us a contract we don't want. And then it happened. And then just like everybody else who thought, well, during the strike, it's the best time to get better. Instead of getting better, I got injured. And I sort of doubled down. I got injured and I got sick. And on top of that, I think the rule is like you can't promote anything you've done, which is like half of the content I like to post.
Right.
And just a bunch of like, don't be a scab, a bunch of messages saying don't be a scab. And then somewhere between taking like a week or two to digest this information, I became sort of stunted artistically. Like I just couldn't think of fun, cool things to make all of a sudden. And then I was hurt, so I was like, oh, maybe I need to take a break. And then I was sick, so I was like, well, more reason to take a break. But a lot of these excuses and circumstances started to turn into normal, and now I feel like I don't have any creative juices in me, even though I feel like I have the energy to it. I'm not. My brain doesn't want to go there. It's almost like my work on my Instagram is directly related to how I feel when I'm able to work and do the stuff I normally do, the things I love at full capacity. It's like either I go all out or it's nothing. Like it's hard for me to find the little bit that's left that we're allowed to do. And it's mostly been commercial work and auditions, and everybody's auditioning right now. So I'm not getting nearly as many hits like I used to. Like there's certain types of commercial work I have a higher chance in booking, and usually I can lock in a few a year. This is like the first time I feel like I'm like barely catching anything. And the one commercial I booked that was kind of a big one didn't put me on camera, so I'm not getting residuals for that.
Yeah, people
So
don't understand that when you do a commercial, if you're not on camera, if what you do, so if you're a driver, your driving has to be in it, or if you're an actor, you have to be in it. You have to have screen time in order to get paid to get residuals. So just because you worked on the commercial for that day doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make the cut. And a lot of the times, the stuff that we shoot just ends up on the editing room floor. I mean, even for music videos that we've done, I did one
yeah.
during the strike, because music videos were still going, that I doubled for Carol G, and we did a whole bunch of driving in the desert, and none of it made the cut because
Oh no.
it wasn't in the storyboard. It was extra stuff we did that was way cooler, but none of it made the cut. And so a lot of it just gets condensed. You're there all day and you're exhausting yourself and your skills, and you're pushing yourself, and you don't even know if that's going to make it, or if you're going to get paid on the back end for it. And then, let alone a lot of the bigger stuff we do, that we used to make way more money on, like feature films and television, it's just going straight to streaming. So even if you are on the back end of it, you're seeing $30, $10, $1.49, 1 cent checks for what used to put out really big numbers for us. So it's
Yeah,
it's really frustrating.
about the residuals, I'm still fairly new, so I've only done like two feature films so far. But I had always heard this like fantasy where you book your feature film and the first residual check is like six figures. It's amazing. Um, my first residual check is not even half of what I got paid for doing the job
My first
on the
one was
feature
a
film.
cent. My first one was a cent. I did a feature film that went to theaters and then to streaming, and the studios failed to pay us properly. A bunch of us had to
Ooh.
report to SAG because what they can get away with sometimes is paying you a little bit, and then they can say, "Oh, we distributed the checks," right? But then they eventually have to pay it on the back end. It just catches up later. So I think I finally saw somewhat of a check, a few years later, but it wasn't even, it was a couple $100. It was nothing, you
Oh
know?
no.
So for what a feature film used to make, my mentors talk about how they would get their checks, after it went to theaters and did its whole run, and they were making six figures off of one film. So, we don't make that kind of money anymore unless you're pumping out five or six nationals a year and you're on screen. And that's really like the national commercials are where most of the money is
Yeah.
now. And a lot of commercials are going non-union because they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to pay that on the back end, even though they make the same amount of money and they have the same kind of budgets that they had before. So it's really frustrating. But what kind of content were you doing prior to hitting this kind of creator's block?
I think I always cycled between my main skills, so like things that look like demo reels, but they're from training, and then
Right.
fight choreography, which is one of my main bread and butter in stunts.
Hmm.
So I would cycle through like, oh, here's a dance clip, here's a tricking clip, here's a fight clip, and I would just kind of be in a rotation for whatever I feel like is like a stunt relevant training. Because you know how Instagram they streamline you, so your
Yeah.
content needs to be streamlined towards a theme, right? So I have to stay in the action filmmaking realm for my work to be seen by the right eyes, for the right followers to stay engaged, etc. So I try to. I mean, I have a lot of random skills that a lot of people have fun watching, but Instagram is always going to drop my reach and my engagement if I don't keep it relevant to my brand, right? So action filmmaking, oriented stunt woman, day-to-day stuff is what I mainly post.
I think it's I think it's getting better though because on my main page, I'm kind of a mix of stuff, right? Like I post my stunt stuff, I
That's
post
right.
my acting stuff, but I do skincare brands, I do beauty brands, and I also do music and I do anything creative. So I think sometimes depending on how you target your audience or how you
Mm,
hashtag it or the way you time it or the other accounts that you interact on, then that can determine, your following. So I think it's just a matter of like pushing stuff out and knowing that like this one's going to target this audience, this one's going to target this audience, this one's going to target this audience. So you kind of pull from different
mm-hmm.
places. But it's hard to do. I think if you find one thing that really works, it's good to stick with that, which is also why I made a separate podcast channel because, starting to flood it with too much content, I need to have a separate channel for that. But so your
Yeah.
main thing is martial arts. Your main thing, you have a longtime martial artist, right? Tell me a little about that.
Yeah. So I started as a taekwondo. Well, I started as a wushu little girl. I don't even want to say like a wushu artist. I started as a little girl training wushu at age 5, and around 10 years old, I transferred over to taekwondo because my shifu at the time left the country. And it's like that was an era where it was really hard to find a good shifu. Like you got to know a guy, and so my
Yeah.
mom, we went martial arts school shopping. We asked everybody we knew, and we decided taekwondo was the direction that we wanted to take it. It was more similar to what I'm used to, like more extended, powerful, like type of action. It looks good. Uh, it wasn't until years later I found out it's not that useful in combat. Like
No, but
it
it's
took
great
me
for film.
it's excellent for film, and all
Yeah.
the kicks in film that I've ever seen, I was always like, yeah, I can do those. So I always
Hmm.
thought like I because of Taekwondo, I probably was a good fit, but you know, that's a bit like a later story. Then I did breakdancing in 8th grade, like totally fell in love and like fully devoted my life into breakdancing until I found parkour. So and I didn't like stop stuff, but I kept picking up new stuff, right? So I fell in love with breakdancing. I did it for however many years, throughout high school, right? And then I got to college, I found parkour. So now I was doing breakdancing and parkour. Then I found pole dancing somewhere in the middle there, and I did that competitively for I think like 2 or 3 years. Uh, Decided I didn't want to spend my life pole dancing, so
You don't want to be on the
did
pole?
parkour and break. Being on the pole is one thing. Doing that professionally and like for the rest of your life and as your main bread and butter was not really my thing. And just to clarify for the
Yeah.
audience that don't know artistic pole, it's a whole sport, right? It's like it can be theatrical, but it's more like an artistic sport. It's more like the circus. So what I did was like a lot of tricks, a lot of flips, a lot of like
Yeah.
flares. It was not so much stripper pole. Like I don't think I was anywhere near an exotic realm when I did it. And that's like a very separate lineage of pole. It's part of pole, but it's a separate lineage
Yeah.
altogether. So just for the people that have no idea what I'm talking about. And if you still don't, you can
She's an
check it out on my
athlete.
page. Yeah, so
She's
so
an
it was like it
athlete.
made sense because a lot of my breakdancing and pole dancing, my breakdancing and my parkour transferred really well into pole dancing. So
Yeah.
that's why I also did it because I had injured my knee that year. So I had like a crack in my tibial plateau bone. I cracked it during rugby. I used to play rugby
Oof.
and I hyperextended my knee during a game and just like wasn't allowed to use my legs for a little while. And I started pole dancing and calisthenics and just went with it because I got good really fast. It was flexible. But that's not even part of the martial art journey. That's just in between martial arts. I did all this that felt like, that all came from, all of this came from wushu, if I'm being honest. Like all that conditioning, all that, like how to use your body, all of this is like just wushu transferred into a different art. Then
Right.
I quit pole as a job, and then I came back to parkour and breakdancing as a commercial work, and that's when I found stunts. And that's when I realized, oh, I want martial arts again. Now that I have a place to do it full time and make it into this like magical story, I want to amp up my martial arts again. Obviously, at this time, I already knew that Taekwondo doesn't cut it alone because my hand to hand game wasn't there. So this year that I did commercial work, I spent all my other free time just shooting fights and learning different kinds of martial arts. And this is like 5 years ago already. So here I am. That's kind
Yeah.
of where I came from in
Yeah.
terms of martial arts.
You've made a whole career out of it. But then the flip side of that is here we are in a strike, and not only is our income stream pretty much eliminated right now, or just like
Yeah.
90% reduced, but our creative space is impeded on, and then you've dealt with an injury on top of that. So, the stress of like people talk about having a normal 9 to 5 and then getting injured and having to go on disability or having to go on unemployment or anything else. But we as performers, we deal with the same thing, but we're not even set up really to, we're on strike. There's really not a lot of resources for us to pull from. So we're almost put in the fire of
Yeah.
how to figure out a different income stream, right? And then people go, oh, well, entertainers are so lazy. I'm sorry, but entertainers, especially the content creators, they're the busiest people I know, and they're so devoted and they're constantly working, and they're doing so with just a bet that they're going to
Yeah.
pull revenue from it, right? It's not ever guaranteed that anything's going to hit or it's going to bring in money or it's going to monetize properly. It's a bet. So we're making these personal investments. Even just the time you spend at the gym, practicing parkour, you're paying for that membership, you're paying for your trainers, you're spending your time on that. So there's a lot of personal investment, both financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, that's involved in that. And it's easy to get burnout. It's super
Yeah.
easy to get burnout and hit that wall.
Yeah, no, I feel like I hit a different kind of wall. This one feels a little financial because I used to be very generous with training money. Like, I don't really buy
Yeah.
like nice clothes often. I buy nice clothes. I just don't buy often. And I'm very budget conscious. I'm very like efficient with my budget. Like a little goes a long way for me.
Yeah.
But when this strike hit, I knew I couldn't keep paying for all these classes and trainings. I was
Yeah.
very generous. I mean, like I will throw like hundreds and thousands of dollars a month on training. And some people I know who are in the business are like, oh, I would never spend, 200 or 300 on this workshop, whatever. There's a lot of people like that. I wasn't one of those. I was like, there's a $200 workshop, I'm signed up. Like, I don't second guess where this money is going ever.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I had to really halt this desire and habit, because I'm hungry to train, learn, and get better, like, fast. Because
Yeah.
I think I'm at the age where, like, it's now or it's not gonna happen. Like, for me, it's right now. So
Right.
when I hit this, like, financial wall, it was hard to. It feels like I'm frozen in place. Like, my brain keeps going, do this workshop, do this class, take this thing, go here, do this, and I have to tell myself, no, you can't, not right now, maybe later. And it's a lot of telling myself no right now, and I'm driving myself crazy, feeling this
Which
way.
is
Now,
so
I don't
hard.
have
Like,
no money, right? But yeah, sorry,
right,
you're
but
saying.
the money you have, you have to, I mean, the living expenses here in LA are like crazy. Our rent, our gas, our food, just our basic income and electric bill can set you back hundreds of dollars depending on the time of year. It's very expensive to live here. And
Yeah,
we're kind of required to be in this city. There's other places we could go too, but it's everybody kind of, it's, you go to Georgia, then you're lumped in with people who don't really have the same respect as LA. If you come out to LA and you make it in LA, you'll get flown anywhere in the world to work.
exactly.
So there's a standard here with a raised bar, but also it takes a lot of sacrifice to be here. And I think one of the things that's always kind of gotten under my skin a little, and I've managed to ignore it and work around it, maybe because while I do practice some martial arts, I am not a martial artist. I'm a vehicle specialist, so it gets expensive in a different way. I'm a horse specialist. That's expensive in a different way. It's a very
Oh
hungry
my
animal.
God, yeah.
And I have to come up with creative ways to be able to keep my training going and afford things when it gets hard. And I haven't known personally, I haven't known this industry without something going on, whether it was a global pandemic or an economic recession or, this strike and now leading into another economic recession predicted because of the wars. So, we're dealing with a lot more than what people who have mentored us in had to deal with. It was a little easier for them and it was a little less
Yeah.
expensive, a lot less expensive. And it used to be justified with, oh, well, you spend $200 on a workshop, you spend $3,000 on a driving clinic, you go to racing school for 10 grand, you're going to make that money right back. That's one national commercial and some residual pay, right? But
Yeah,
those are fleeting now. To get those national
it's not that
commercials, to
way
get those
anymore.
spots, it's not. And that the work, especially through the strike, it's like while we're on strike, we need more access to free things. I myself, I've hosted some free clinics with the horse stuff, and I wish there were more people offering those things. And I've seen some people at Tempest doing that, and I've seen some people at the higher end of this, people like Garrett Warren and Steve
Mm-hmm.
Brown offering free training, but also, we're having to pay for space, we're having to pay for this, we're having to pay for that. So you do have to charge a few $100, a few hundred there. And then it's this vicious cycle because now I'm also hearing about plenty of people that are ending up not being able to pay rent, or they can't afford groceries, or they can't afford gas, or they're in debt. People's credit debt is getting crazy out here too. It's a rough
Yeah.
spot.
No, I'm fortunate enough that when the strike hit and I told some of my friends, they basically offered me work. Now I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
so one of them worked out really well. My friend, we'll start with the good story and then maybe the bad story. The good
Yeah.
story is that my longtime best friend had just opened a wine bar and he was like, I always need hands, and if you are not, doing anything during the strike, you can come keep me company. I can only afford you 17 an hour, but you know what you're doing. It's like it's chill, it's whatever. And then he panicked a week later. He's like, actually, all my kitchen staff just quit. Can you come cook for me? And I was like, absolutely.
Oh my God.
um, I'm a little bit of
Yeah.
a like I like helping my friends and I love cooking, so I was the right person to ask this because I was like, oh, I'll cook for you. I don't want to bust tables, but I'll cook for you. Um,
Yeah.
Now I actually became, because a week after that he hired two proper chefs, but now I'm like, let me post for your Instagram, and then now I'm his full Instagram social media director. So I don't make content for
Nice.
Emily right now, but I make content for his restaurant. And it's doing well enough that I'm bringing in the people that he, hoped to bring in because he's a new spot. Nobody knows about him. And because I'm posting every day for him, now people are showing up and it looks like things are getting better for him. So that's worked out very well for me during this strike. I'm grateful that during this time, this really difficult time, I have something to keep me kind of like present to the world. Like, okay, there's one little piece of thing I actually enjoy that is for a good cause, is for my friend. Great. And then I had a bad story where, because I was so afraid that if I didn't say yes to every dollar I was getting offered, that I would be screwed in the long run. I'd rather play it safe and say yes than be sorry. However, I shouldn't have said yes to this because I was offered a summer camp coaching, which is something I've done in the past that I know I didn't really enjoy because I don't want to be out in the sun 6 hours a day with
With
children.
kids. Yeah, with kids. I
It's
have a
just,
kid of my own, and I'll be the first person to say one is enough. I am
yeah.
6 hours in the hot sun. Like I used to do that with horse kids. So yeah, there's a reason why I don't
So
teach children anymore.
I shouldn't have said yes to this, but because I was so afraid if I didn't say yes to the dollars that were coming in that weren't, like, I didn't have to try to grab, that I would be screwed, right? So I said yes. At the same time, I said yes to cooking in a kitchen. So
Oh
I screwed
boy.
myself over because I would be up at 6 or 7 in the morning, running around with kids for 6 hours, and then I would go to the kitchen from like 4 o'clock till closing, so like 12, and then this was like back to back days in a row. By Saturday, I had told them that I was going to be there early in the morning to do something. The coaching, I was going to be there early to coach. I at 2 a.m. I was like, look, I'm not in bed. I should not be coming. This is terrible. Like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. They fired me immediately, without talking to me. This is not cool
Like
because these
bye.
are the guy that offered this to me was actually like a longtime dear friend. I feel terrible that the whole team feels this way about me. And he actually was the first person to be like, "Hey, I didn't vote you off the island. Like, the team decided this without me being there. I don't even know what happened. But
Oh
I
shit. Yeah.
feel like if I were you, I wouldn't be doing this either. And it doesn't seem like this is the right time for you to be doing this. So it's okay." He didn't say you're fired. He was just like, "It's okay that this happened. I get it, but this is how the team feels." And I was like, "Yo, I just feel terrible that I put everybody in a position where they needed me to coach and I didn't show up, right?" Um, well, I showed up like super
Yeah.
late. I didn't show up for the morning shift. I showed up for the afternoon just to be like, I'm not like a terrible person. I want to be here, but I can't do this to myself. I have to come first too. So after
Yeah.
that, I was like, you know what? Like, chill the
Yeah.
fuck out. Are you really this broke? You've worked enough to have residuals. Like, you're not starving off the streets. You have two homes. You know, you have people that would give you money if you really needed to borrow some. Like, I'm not in a bad place. I'm just someone that pushes, right? I'm just someone that like needs to sustain the same. It's like, okay, if
Right.
not stunts, then what's gonna keep me high
Well,
up
we're
here and
used to
doing
a
the same shit? And
hustle.
it's, yeah. So
We're used to a
that
hustle.
that
Like
that's
we live in a constant hustle with this industry, where like if you're not working, you're hustling coordinators, you're talking to directors, you're going to auditions, you're going to training. Like we're constantly doing things. But like you said, auditions have been tough. It's hard to get seen, it's hard to get in the room. And then,
yeah,
affording training. So then there's this gap with the training, and then the amount of jobs that's even available, that's limited. And a lot of the people who are working because they have friends who they've worked with before, or they have previous relationships with people to pull them in on jobs. And that's not everybody. That's a small percentage of people. That's a very small
yeah,
percentage of people. And the actors who are working are known actors. A lot of them are people who are established in this industry already. So it's a tough time, but I appreciate that hustle in you because I understand that. Like when I have dealt with, even when I've had good residuals coming in, I've always felt a little bit like it's kicking the can down the road because
mm-hmm.
you only have residual for so long. Like I learned that the hard way. I had three Subaru National ads running at the same time. I was big
Oh
ballin' until they
wow,
decided, yeah, and then they decided, oh, never mind, we don't want to pay for these three ads anymore. So they cut the contract earlier than we were supposed to. I thought I had at least another year of it running, and
oh
granted, it
man,
ran for 2 full years. and then a third year, and then we had the fourth year, and it cut halfway through the fourth year. So um, I learned that the hard way, that you could go from like big balling to big broke real fast.
Oh yeah,
And when
no,
that happens,
it's
you better, yeah, you got to have money put away. You need, and I was good with saving, but also I'm a single mom, and I have made big investments in, times where economically things have been a little sketchy. So
yeah.
it's tough. It's a tough thing to balance. And I'm sorry, I just got a little distracted because
Oh,
on the
no
side of
problem.
this, I also have a child and I hear little tiny knocks at my door. So I try,
Dude.
I have to balance all of this. I have to balance the parenting and everything. One second. Fable, I'm recording a podcast. Can I help you in a bit? Thanks.
She's very
She's like,
sweet.
okay.
Yeah.
She's the
Can't wait to
best,
meet
but
her.
she watches me. Oh yeah, you'll love her. You guys will have fun together. She's watched me hustle, so it's had to be like in the downtime, going to the ranch and teaching lessons and working with the
Mm-hmm.
horses, or being home and she hears I'm in here doing a podcast and doing long format streaming and monetizing content and advertising different products. She's watched me make the beauty videos and the skincare videos, and repping brands I believe in, and trying to have some sort of additional revenue coming in between the jobs, so that when contracts do get canceled, or when streaming things go wrong, or when things just don't go as planned. And that happens often in this industry. Unfortunately, it's not as predictable as it used to be.
Yeah. You get so used to it sometimes when things are good. I mean, I was flying to a different city
Yeah.
like every other week just because I could.
Yep.
And
I
that
never
was
got to
only
travel.
in like April. Just earlier this year, between like January to April, I was like flying everywhere. I was in like a different city every other week, and
Yeah.
yeah, no, I was like auditioning for stuff outside of my region and just trying to hit hard. And like things were
I
going
was
well. I could
working
afford it.
I was working in different cities, but I didn't
Yeah,
get
same.
the luxury of traveling for fun, like, because I have to bring in twice as much. I gotta pay for
True.
a
Yeah.
small person and me. So every time I thought about like, oh, maybe I want to go, after COVID kind of gave me a little PTSD around spending. And
Oh,
like,
yeah.
if I wanted to go
Yeah.
on a vacation, I was afraid to go on vacation because I'm like, okay, but am I gonna need that money to survive? Like, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
I made some big investments elsewhere. So like going to train for F3 and learning to race and getting my racing certificates. That's expensive, and
Oh,
doing
yeah.
it out
One
of
of the
my
most
own pocket.
expensive stunts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most people have like rich parents to put them through, or, a sponsor,
Oh, even if
but
my parents could afford it, they would never pay for that. I'm on
most
my own
parents
for
wouldn't.
driving.
Yeah, most parents wouldn't, and I had to earn that and invest it, and then go, God, I hope that this pays me back. And it took 2 years for me to get the job that made me go, thank God I took that school, because
Right.
if I hadn't learned to race that car, they wouldn't have hired me over the other five, six people that were in line
Mm-hmm.
for it. They hired me over it because of the skill set. So finally it paid me back, but not even that much. So it's like it just takes time for that investment to fully realize itself, and it's tough. Like, this isn't an easy industry to
Yeah.
navigate. We're kind of in people go to college and they go to get their doctorates, and it takes, depending on what they're doing, it takes anywhere from 10 to 12 years for them to get to where they can like actually be making the money back that they spent to go to university
Mm-hmm.
and to grad school and all of that. But for us, it's almost like we're doing it at the same time, right?
Exactly.
So it's a long-term thing, but then we just get older. This is the thing that's been frustrating me. You get older, and the older you get, the harder it is on your body, and the younger, newer people come in, and then the coordinators and stuff for the productions, they want the younger, newer people. And by the time we start catching up, right, normally you and I, we right now, we'd probably be working nonstop. But for us during a pandemic or during something like this, for a lot of people, we're not going to work as much as somebody who maybe grew up in the industry, or has
Yeah.
stunt people for parents and uncles and grandparents, or directors or producers who are in their family, or they've just been doing it for a long time. Like they're veterans in this industry. They're already established. They've been established for 20 or 30 years. They're still working.
Yeah.
For us, it's like we're taking this extra pause, but time doesn't pause. Even though the industry's paused, time doesn't pause. We keep aging, injuries come up, you know, like I went and had a whole surgery. I had to deal with the whole abdominal reconstruction and, downtime with that. And thank God we're in a strike right now, so I could do
Yeah.
that. And I think a lot of people have been like jumping in and getting their surgeries for things that they've maybe put off fixing because we put it off because of that. We don't want to take the downtime. That downtime is valuable
Hmm.
time, right? But then we see it on the back end later when we're like in our 60s and 70s and we can't turn our necks because we've done so many car
Oh
crashes or,
man, I hope
you
it
know,
doesn't become us.
I don't want it to be. So, I think
Yeah.
it's just a matter of being smart and conscientious about our bodies and like taking the downtime that we need too.
You ever get hit with this one? This is slightly tangential, but some people are like, "Oh, you should think about driving because when you get old, that's like the only thing you can do." And I think it's kind of like off-putting to hear that driving ends up being an old stunt person's career instead of like the the young, fresh, hot, like not like sexy, but I mean like a young stunt performer should
The new
rightfully
ones.
be qualified to also drive. It shouldn't be like the only option left when you're old.
I
It's also
think
like not respecting driving as much as should be respected, you know?
I don't know. I think I have a different view on that because as a vehicle person, as I've been riding motorcycles since, bikes since I was 7, starting in the dirt. I started riding motorcycles, scooters in traffic when I was like
Mm-hmm.
13, 14 in
Oh,
France.
that's
I
like my
started riding,
favorite thing. I love those.
they're super fun. And then
Yeah.
motorcycles when I was 16, I was licensed when I was 16. I was riding Harleys when I was 18. I'm 35 now. And so I've been riding motorcycles for a long time, all sorts of body
Mm-hmm.
styles, traction, all sorts of surface area, like surface types. So, and then driving vehicles, from the beginning of my career, cars, that was my thing. And I've done a ton of training with it and a lot of commercial work. And I have gotten the opportunity to do a lot of driving stunts. That's been my
Mm-hmm.
main source of stunt income, I guess, is with cars and
Yeah.
motorcycles. So, but it's that long history I have with it. And so, in respect to that, when we look at our older performers like Debbie Evans, who is a mentor
Mm-hmm.
of mine, a friend of mine, she's been doing this for so long and she's so good at it that she's going to nail it every single time. And it's such a huge safety concern. It's
Mm.
such a huge safety concern that it's not worth the risk sometimes. But also, they don't want to hit the ground anymore. They've
Yeah.
hit the ground. They've hit the ground for all these years. They've earned their stripes. So
That I
if
can
that's
understand, yeah.
yeah, and so, I get it. I understand it as somebody who does a lot of different things. I understand how driving is at. And I even look at that down the road. I go, yeah, driving commercials and on film, like to
Mm-hmm.
me, but besides coordinating, like to me, that'll be my bread and butter as I age into this industry. It'll also
Mm-hmm.
save me from things like not being able to turn my neck as long as I'm not a car crash guy, right? But
Gotcha.
oh, there we go. My battery is getting low.
Yeah, I
But
always feel I want to be a stunt car driver when I make enough money from fighting. I'm like fighting my way to be able to pay
yeah,
for the tuition to become a stunt driver. That's kind of like my sort of stunt goal, right? Like the next milestone is to be able to afford level 2, level 3 training, not just classes,
right.
but like to be able to train to be that good. So I am good for the job, not like
We need
but
that. We
you
need more Asian women. We need more Asian
yeah.
women behind the wheel for film, that understand filming too, because we have like Asian stunt drivers, but they're
Mhm.
not used to being on a film set. They're not used to the ins and out. They're not used to the production. They don't know how to deal with other people on set or being on set, behavior on set. The set is just not there. They've not been
Yeah.
mentored in that way. So I almost think, I don't know, I prefer somebody who's been in stunts and been in film and worked in the industry for a long time to then acquire the skills over time and then get into the driver's seat and get into the hot seat more. So I think that's
Mhm.
great. especially for your ethnicity, we need more of that. We don't have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Asian stunt women who are great drivers. There's just a few that I can think of.
Yeah.
There's an abundance of the rest, and especially of men. So we just need
Yeah.
more women in the hot seat.
Well, fighting my way into it, literally.
Yeah. Well, how's the injury doing?
I can walk now for a little while. I bruised my heel really bad in my last parkour competition, and I didn't really want to like tell anybody, right? Because stunt people don't talk about their injuries. Um,
God
but
forbid you get injured.
but this one is like one of those it probably will be fine in time. I
Yeah.
just need to make sure I don't make it worse. So I can walk now. It's like tender in the morning sometimes. It's got you ever fracture a bone and it's just tender for a little while. I think I'm in the tender
Mm-hmm.
phase now where it's like it hurts, but I'm not sure if it's like because it's just healed and is sensitive or maybe it's still injured enough that I should be careful. So I'm kind of like feeling it out right now. I'm
Yeah.
just training. I'm just starting to train again this week. I try not to walk if I don't have to. Just because I think repetitive motion, because the kind of injury I have is a bit of a stress, potentially a stress
Yeah.
factor. I actually didn't bother finding out because I didn't want to pay $500 deductible for my MRI. So
Also,
insurance
what
was
are
going to
they?
cover
They're
it,
just
but it
gonna
was
put you in a
500.
boot.
Yeah,
Lovely.
it's just not worth the money if I feel like there's nothing they're going to do. I don't think they're going to give us surgery.
They'll put
They
in a
won't do
boot.
anything for it. The only thing they'll tell me
Right.
is how long it's going to take. So I just took the chance and said, no, this is not the time to spend 500. If I was working and the industry was open and I had faith that I was going to book pretty soon, I would have been like, sure, 500 is my career. Go ahead, but not right now. Like right now,
Right.
that I could use that 500 somewhere else.
Yep. I feel that. I feel that in my soul. This is like tough. It's tough navigating where to spend it. And we often sacrifice ourselves. Like I was saying that to someone today
Yeah,
when I'll spend on my daughter. Like I make sure her wardrobe's straight, she's good for school, she's got everything she needs, like her food is good. I'll eat a granola bar and a protein shake for the day and then make sure she's got three, solid meals a day, home cooked. So we sacrifice ourselves first, as creatives, as performers, as moms,
yeah,
as people just trying to survive this industry. So it's tough. We're in a tough time right now, for sure. But I think it'll get better. And I
yeah.
also think I think sometimes the universe forces us to like sit in a stagnant place so that we have to
Mhm,
exercise other things we're capable of, right?
mhm.
Like we have to explore other fields of creative output. And and I think that when you sit in that uncomfortable feeling for long enough, we have no choice but to move in some direction, right? So we
Mhm.
find some other outlet.
It's
And
a
it
very
just
good way to
takes a
put it.
minute.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, if we don't move, the universe moves us because it keeps moving, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't wait for us. And you have to just start getting out of the way. It's like in martial arts, if somebody's coming at you, if you don't move, you're gonna get hit. So eventually you just got
Yeah.
to get up and move off the line and, and get out of the way or hit back. One of those options.
Mhm.
So I think like it's extra tough when you're feeling hurt. Like I just recovered from the surgery. I'm still recovering technically. I can't get back to doing anything significant until December. But it's tough trying to think of like, okay, I can't go to the gym. I can't weight lift. I can't do any of my normal stuff. I couldn't, even if I wanted to, pay for a workshop. I can't risk that. I can't go into a workshop and work with anyone. I can't do anything that's gonna pop an internal stitch or mess up what we just fixed for several months. I can't dance. I can't do any of the stuff I do on the side even. So I'm like, what do I do? Well, why don't I talk to people about a bunch of shit?
Oh,
Because that's
I was
the only
about to
thing
say.
I
So
do.
what do you do?
Yeah.
I want to know too.
Yeah.
The thing
I
is,
talk to people.
I was like, oh, now's a good time to edit all these projects I shot because I have like 3 projects I didn't finish editing. And I was so depressed, I didn't want to. I was like bitter that this is a thing I have to do instead of the thing I want to do. So it didn't matter what I thought, oh, I could
Yeah.
do this, I could do that. At the end of the day, every time I got around to trying it, I was so bitter that this wasn't the thing I wanted to do with my time, that I refused to do it, like in a bitter, depressed, like angry way. Like, no, I'm not doing this right now. I'm not editing instead of training. Not cool. Like,
Don't make
and it's
us do
like,
it.
yeah, it's like I boxed myself into a space where it's not acceptable. I'm like being a little child, like with a tantrum, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, and I've sat here for days sometimes where I'm just like, I'm not gonna make anything. I don't want to make anything. I don't want to advertise anything. I don't want to make anything. I don't want to shoot anything. What can I do today? And I'll like resort to just like I'll post funny stories today. Like and that works, you know, but it's not content. It's not daily
Yeah.
content. And I know I started talking to like a long format content management company. It wants to monetize
Hmm.
what I do. But, you know, they want long format content every day. And I'm like, every day? Every
Wow.
day? I have to do this every day? And I'm like, do you know how much goes into that? Especially as a woman. Because
Yeah.
we gotta look right, you gotta do your makeup, you know. And then that's how actually I found the beauty stuff where I was like, well, wait a minute. What if I
Mm,
wash my face today and you watch that? What if I do my makeup and you watch that? I never have to leave my room. My lighting in my room is always on point anyways. And I only have to have an iPhone and I can do all my normal stuff, my conversations with my friends, washing my face, doing my makeup, doing my hair, using the products that I use every day already that I believe in, and then endorsing those products. And like that's kind of just
hmm.
spiraled into like, hey, wait, this works, right? Like I can
Yeah.
make that work. So that's how I've gotten creative with this. And there's a lot of people that are too proud to do that. There's people I've talked to where they go, I will not do any kind of social marketing. Why? If you know, and for me, I can't go work a 9 to 5 because I don't have the degrees to make the kind of money that pays hourly more than it would cost for me to get childcare. Childcare,
Hmm.
to have someone watch my kid is anywhere from $30 to $50 an hour if I want somebody who's adequate. So
Yeah,
I'm not going to make that kind of money except as a film professional, right? But that's all closed
exactly.
down. So as a film professional, affording a nanny is like no problem. But then when I'm resorting to going back to like a normal day job, like I'm just paying for half of the nanny cost, not even the full nanny cost.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy, right? It's like you're going to work just to lose money
right,
for that.
I can't make that money back, so it doesn't make any sense. So at that point it's like, okay, I'm out of job, like what can I do from home? What can I do from home? So that's been the challenge for me is like, well, what can I do? But that's also gonna like satiate my creative need because I'm a
Hmm.
creative. If I wasn't an actor, I was doing music. If I wasn't making music, I was doing stunts. If I wasn't doing stunts, I was writing poetry. I was doing something. I was dancing, musical theater. Like I've always, my whole life, been a creative.
Hmm.
So to switch,
10 seconds later.
I had a call come in just now. It was my mom, and I forget what I was saying. And this happens my entire life. What's your mom do?
Yeah, lucky. Oh, my mom is a housewife. She needs purpose.
What the?
She's like
I want
us,
to be
but
this.
like permanently. Like she's
She,
always like,
that
what do I do
sounds
with my life?
great.
She doesn't hustle. She just hustles me. She just
What do you need?
this whole so she visited me in June, and this she's seen my bathroom. She's seen my whole apartment. It's old. It can do retouches, sure, but it's like nothing that like is urgent enough that I care to do it right away. But ever since she saw my apartment, she would not stop harassing me about everything she wants replaced. This includes like all my shower head and like my kitchen faucet, and she's like looking up these like bad models of replacements, and she's like, this looks great from Amazon. I was like, by the way, I've tried that one before and it's terrible and it doesn't do anything you think it does. Please stop trying. I found one that I'm gonna try already. And she just like, it doesn't matter if I said I handled it, I found something. She like sends something from Taiwan and it's like a shitty version of something that doesn't work. It's a like, because the
Timu?
dimension, it's no, it's just different dimensions. Like they use different size stuff in Taiwan, and we
Yeah.
use standardized American size things, and they just like never fit. But she keeps trying and she keeps calling me, and her check-ins are like, "How's your shower? Do you like it? Did you keep the old one in case you hate it so you could put it back?" And it's like, no, we did not spend $900 to switch our shower head just to switch it back. The old one was broken. That's why we changed it. The old one was leaking. We're not
Yeah.
putting it back. I don't care if the new one isn't. It was great, but like it's like she's so backwards in life. Like, and it's like to her, this is like do or die, like so important to her. It's like, oh, it's only for your own good. I was like, no, it is for your sanity. It is not really different or better to us.
A few moments later.
I don't know. My mom keeps calling me,
Might
and
have
I
to
don't
put it
know
on
what to
focus
do
mode.
about this.
Like the do not
I'm
disturb
like,
focus mode.
I have it on that. That's why I don't know why her call is coming in.
Right when you were saying what you were saying earlier about being a creative your whole life, I was gonna say that I'm glad I found out I'm excellent at marketing food. I mean, everyone kind of who follows me knows how much good food I like to try all the time. And I had a lot of practice taking pictures and videos of them because it makes me feel good when I when I share them. Because I eat alone a lot. Like I'm not like out and about like going out with people. I literally do this as a hobby. I like to scavenger delicious, expensive food. So
I'm
I
similar.
think
I'm
it
very
just
the
came in
same.
very handy. Yeah, it came in super
See, maybe
handy
that's what we need. That's what
promoting.
we need to do. That's what we need to do for
Oh,
content.
like a food
We need
blog?
to, yeah, the two of us just go out and find a bunch of different like interesting restaurants and places to eat, hole in the wall places to like really extravagant new places in LA. And we pop on a couple of
Food porn.
microphones and yeah, I mean, why not? Might as well.
I'm
Or
down.
cooking. Do you cook? I cook.
Oh yeah. No, some of my content
See?
is my own cooking.
See,
Like
that's what we should
on
do.
Thanksgiving last year, I made 3 turkeys. I think I
Whoa, how many
carved 3
people?
turkeys. No, I went to 3 different gatherings. They were
Oh,
all like Friendsgiving gatherings, but
yeah.
everyone had a turkey. Either I was part of the making or I carved. I'm a very good turkey carver, so I carved about everybody's turkey. And
Is
I
that your
like did
martial
a
arts
thing where
background? Did you
oh,
wushu the
no.
turkey?
I maybe it's a side. It's like the drunken style, but the turkey style. I made a turkey like
You're
dance
like,
on camera, and it like went like a little bit viral when I posted it, like thousands of
really?
views. Because normally my food post on my
Amazing.
food page doesn't get like high engagement. It's like I'll be lucky if we get 2,000. This one was like 8,000. It was like
So you have
a
a separate
turkey just
page for your
wiggling.
food?
I do because I can't put
Ooh.
it in the same because of the algorithms. It'll get really jacked up. So
Yeah. Well, something that I found that was a neat little hint given to me is that if you could post it anyways and then you just move it to your reels and then you take it out of your archive at the front. So if you want to front load the front
like
with
the
stuff
front
that
page.
yeah, your front page is
Yeah.
front loaded with like what you do as a career. And then all your reels can be a mix of stuff because there really isn't an algorithm
Oh,
so
is
much
the reel
organizing that.
separate? The
Reels
reel's
are
separate
separate.
from the main page.
So you can,
Oh,
they
I might do a
actually say
collab. Yeah.
it'll boost your algorithm if you're pumping out more content daily in your reels. It doesn't really matter what they are. So as long as you just keep them out of your front gallery, because then your front gallery represents what you do, what your main thing is, you know. So that's it. If you notice, if you go to mine on my main page, it's all my stunt stuff or like my
Mm-hmm.
modeling stuff at the front. And if you go into my reels, it's like a smorgasbord of stuff with my kid. It's food, it's music, it's
Oh, I didn't
stunts,
even
it's
notice.
skincare.
Like,
And
there's a lot of
I'm
content I
averaging,
haven't seen on your reels page.
yeah, if you hop on there, I mean I've been getting hits that are like I have one that's getting closer to getting 1 million views. And I have like I'm averaging between 100,000, like sometimes I get 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and then the bigger ones are getting like 100,000, you know, plus. And that has just been like hit or miss. It's really like
Right.
timing, targeted audience, and the topic, like knowing
And
when
what's
and
your
who to
best
target.
time to post right now? What's
At
your
night, at night, because my following is all Asian. My
Oh,
number one following country is Indonesia, and I love
I
them.
think me too.
They're the best. They're the best. They interact, they talk, they'll go through and like all your stuff. Like they're really like supportive. And then my second highest is Shanghai, and then my third highest was
Whoa.
yeah, Shanghai, then Seoul, and then Paris.
Oh
So
my God, you
France
have
just
like untapped territory
randomly.
for me. My best is
Yeah,
Indonesia, and then it's like New York, LA. Like it's like where I am. It's not
America,
more than
yeah,
that.
America doesn't, America's like, Michelle, but like Asia's over there like, yeah, Michelle, we love her. So,
No, seriously,
and they love,
that's
it's because I have beauty content and music and act, and they like, if you look at like the way their idols are, they're doing everything. Look at an idols page. They're putting out
mm-hmm.
videos of them eating food, they're putting out dance videos, they're doing music videos, they're doing singing, they're doing acting, they're doing dance. I said that dance twice. They do everything, and then they also have stuff like this where they're just talking, where they get on a live and they just talk for like an hour and their fans interact with them. So, I mean, they definitely have a
Mm,
more appreciation for like a Renaissance type performer, right? So I
yeah,
think that's probably why
no,
my stuff
totally.
hits over there. Yeah. Targeting's a funny
Oh.
thing.
At night, what would you say, like 9 p.m. or later?
Sometimes I'll post at like 11 and that's the one that'll blow up.
Yeah, so I found the little secret midnight is like going into Saturday, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Saturday just before midnight, it almost always it's like it'll go super viral, like 20K in the first 5 minutes.
That's where I think I had a TikTok do that like late night. But that's also where the American audience, I feel like Friday and Saturday night late night, they're on their phones. They're looking at stuff. They
Mm-hmm.
probably just got back from the bar and they're a little drunk and they're like, "Oh, look at this chick."
Yeah.
You know, I feel like America's better, but during the week, even like midweek, Wednesday, I'll post late night and all of a sudden like then by the morning my reel is blown up, you know.
Wow.
I've
Okay, I
got
gotta take that in
100K
because
on it.
I have
Yeah.
my users are all on my my users are most active at 9 a.m. according to my stats. Every day, if I post at 9 o'clock in the morning, the post will do okay throughout the day. It won't tank. If I don't
That makes
post at
sense.
9, if I post at 12 or 2, then it's like it's as if I posted a really bad post. Like it just won't do well.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them can be like that. I notice if I post in the afternoon, it doesn't do as well. I hit more
Yeah.
of an American targeted audience and it just doesn't do as well. But if I pay attention to my if I pay attention to my Asian following and then I target it at
Mm.
them, it does really well. And so I don't know, maybe I just need to move to like Shanghai or Korea.
I'm gonna take notes. My next post is coming out at midnight.
All
My
right, we're
next
watching
week is
that.
all midnight.
Yeah,
Americans
I
are
mean
haters.
yeah,
They're like one of us. Psh.
I hate to say that, but like they really are. American audiences are harder. And standard, there's a certain standard they're looking for that's just, I'm not that. Like, and even in some, I think Chinese audiences can be like that too.
Mm-hmm.
But um, I don't know. I'm just me.
Yeah,
I've
where's
been sick for 3 days. Hmm.
is
I've
it the
been sick for
cough?
3 days.
Everyone has like the cough.
1 hour later.
Don't mind me, I'm just dying off screen. Um,
You are fine.
I
I
had
was
that
like this
surgery.
for a month.
I had that abdominal surgery too, so if I cough, I have to like
Oh
hold it.
no.
I have to hold
You
it
have
all
to like
together, so I have to
press
like,
your muscle.
yeah,
Like
I've lived with
push
like a
the
pillow
stitch
against.
together.
But it
Um
looks really good. It was worth it. It looks good. Um, anyways, yeah. Well, it's 5:30. I've got to run this kid to go visit my mom for the weekend, which is why she's been
no
calling me
problem.
through this whole
Okay.
video. So I'm gonna call her back so she doesn't think I've died. And
Moms.
yeah, and then maybe we'll do a part two soon. I want to catch up with you and talk more content stuff. And
Yeah.
also, let's do some food content. I like the idea of food content.
Yeah, this is great. All right. I had a great talk with you. This was a lot of fun. I would do this
Yay!
as much as you want
Good.
to.
Well, great. Yeah, let's have you on more. And also, like, if I could find a way to get more people in, it'll be fun. We could get like
Yeah,
two, three
absolutely.
people
Yeah.
in.
3-way,
Yeah.
4-way, yeah.
Mm.
Awesome.
All right. Mwah. Love you. Bye. Thanks,
I'll
Em.
see you.